inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown!
Hurts on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. Missed the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to the Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 100th episode of the Pigskin Project. It's insane, yeah. Lots of news to cover, but I will say this. I will preface this. Because we are known for Pigskin Pick'em. We are known for Pigskin Payout. We will not be doing either this week because the Super Bowl is next week and we'll be covering it all next week. It's a big week, because this is when we get to see, head coach fill-ins, GM fill-ins, et cetera, et cetera. However, before we get into any of that, Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. School started to pick up a little bit, so that's why we originally pushed it back a little bit. So it's been busy for sure, but it's been good. So how you doing? That's
awesome. Good, man. I guess we'll just dive right into it just because I'm excited about the news. But first, obviously we'll get to one headline that I don't really find as, appetizing. It's just something to get out of the way. Jets and assistant GM Rex Hogan have agreed to part ways. Nothing too big. But this is the big thing for me personally. The Bears have finished filling out their coaching staff, and it is impressive. And there's different takeaways that I have for this and everything as well. And normally, as I addressed, I believe it was last week or the week before maybe, we're not really going to go over like positional hirings as well. But this is like the one exception for me, just because I'm excited about this and there's a direction that the offense is going that I want to discuss at least a little bit. So obviously they hired Shane Waldron as their offensive coordinator, like we mentioned.
You said the Jets have finished their coaching hires.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Bears finished out.
Yeah, it threw me off there for a second.
Finished filling out the coaching staff, but the Jets were the ones that agreed to part ways with their assistant GM. So. But anyways, yeah, the Bears are finishing out their coaching staff. I really like it. Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator from Seattle. He has experience in the McVay tree. Eric Washington, the defensive coordinator now. He's coming from Buffalo after working there the last 4 years in the game. This is the big one that was kind of confusing to me because it was a hire that kind of worked backwards for him. Thomas Brown is our new passing game coordinator, and he was the Panthers offensive coordinator last year. He also worked in the McVay tree, and he was notoriously known. I want to say it was like the 3rd ranked offensive coordinator in the league or something like that is what I read. I don't know. That feels very subjective, but as a passing game coordinator, I'll take it. He worked under McVay as an assistant head coach and running backs coach as well. Then we also got Chris Beatty, who is a wide receivers coach from the Chargers. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, I guarantee you saw this tweet because it kind of popped off compared to like my normal ones. So, looking at that, I'm very excited about this. He coached Percy Harvin in high school, which, Ben, we've had several conversations about Percy Harvin. He led Hampton University to the 7th highest scoring offense in the FCS in 2006. He coached DJ Moore at Maryland, so they're reuniting here. DJ Moore that year was Big Ten wide receiver of the year. He set an NFL single season record with the Chargers in 2022 by having at least 4 receivers with at least 500 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, that being Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Carter and Palmer as well. Led all AFC receiving corps with 512 receptions as wide receivers coach for the Chargers over the span of 2 seasons, and the 2023 stats are pending. He coached Keenan Allen to his 5th Pro Bowl appearance and coached Mike Williams to his breakout year as well. I expect the wide receiving core to go off. I'm excited about that. And there's obviously other reasons as to why I think the wide receivers core will go off, but we'll get to that when I do my mock off season. Kerry Joseph. Yeah. Kerry Joseph, the new quarterbacks coach from Seattle, and then Chad Morton, the new running backs coach from Seattle as well. Now, this is huge for the Bears, in my opinion. Not just because it looks like they're finally doing their due diligence and evolving the game of, where the offense is going compared to where it's been in Chicago. We've talked about it before, the old run and gun, big defense, good run game doesn't necessarily work in this game anymore.
Bears football.
But you look at where this game is going, and you think about where Seattle's been. I mean, Shane Waldron, Kerry Joseph, and Chad Morton have done a pretty good job of coaching, Geno Smith to where he's at right now, and Kenneth Walker where they're at right now, and Zach Charbonnet. And I mean, he had some explosive runs. He wasn't RB1 material, but he's just where he needs to be as a rookie, in my opinion. So, looking at that, they did just as good as I would hope if they're going to be coming into the Bears and doing the same exact thing. But the biggest key takeaway for this, and I don't know about you, but the biggest key takeaway for this is knowing that they were talking about Caleb Williams behind the scenes when they were hiring their offensive coordinator and the company alongside him. According to multiple sources that I've read, people were chomping at the bit to become the new offensive coordinator for the Bears because of the opportunity to coach Caleb Williams. And that's one thing that they kind of advertised, and they were putting their candidates in situations what you would do with a guy like Caleb Williams. This is purely a staff that's meant to develop a new quarterback, in my opinion. And as much as it sucks, because I'm a big Fields guy and I wish him the best no matter where he's at, but it seems like we're leaving him in the dust with this new game plan. And, especially with this new coaching staff that's meant to develop a quarterback, it sucks to finally see it after Fields has spent 3 years in a garbage program, do it with somebody else instead. It's a little trashy, but at the same exact time, it's still pretty big. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a good coaching staff, and you're talking about how people are chomping at the bit to get in there and be the coach for Caleb Williams and whatnot. Yeah, now imagine if you had a head coach that was chomping at the bit and who you guys could have got to do that.
That's
a guy like
maybe
too. Ben Johnson, and maybe Ben Johnson stayed for another year, and I'm sure you were going to get into that because he wants to be the Bears head coach next year.
No, that's what I'm excited about. We'll go ahead and talk about that briefly too. He's staying with the Lions instead of pursuing the head coaching job in Washington that we both thought was a done deal last week, basically. But after the loss of the 49ers, he believes that there's still some unfinished business to take care of in Detroit. I respect it. However, he's leaving next year, in my opinion. But hey, we said the same exact thing about Ian Cunningham, and he's probably going to stay for a third year.
Well, but we also, we said the same thing about him last year. It's like, what? He didn't take a coaching job last year? He'll definitely take a coaching job this year. But I guess the big report coming out of that was I guess the number he wanted was just absolutely shocking to teams. He just wanted just this crazy contract, and no teams were willing to give it up, which I understand it, in a sense that you don't want to give this crazy contract out to a dude who's, unproven and hasn't done it. But I don't know if you're a team like Washington, it's going to take their quarterback in the first round. If I want anyone coaching him, it's Ben Johnson. So of course.
Next coaching hire. The Seahawks have hired Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their new head coach. Little fun fact for you. He's half the age of Pete Carroll. So, there's that, but I'm excited to see that Seattle defense, specifically the secondary underneath Mike Macdonald. That's going to be awesome. But the one that I kind of want to focus on is one that people aren't necessarily the most educated on. The Packers have hired Boston College head coach Jeff Hadley to be their new defensive coordinator. And a lot of people are like, cool, who's that guy? Never heard of him before. In 2023, Boston College's defense was ranked top 30 nationally in passing yards allowed with 197.2 per game and completion percentage with 58.1%. In 2021, Boston College's defense was ranked third in passing yards allowed, which was 173.5. They were also top 30 in 6 other defensive categories: total defense, first downs allowed, third down percentage, team passing efficiency, and defensive touchdowns. He also led the ACC in fewest penalties and fewest penalty yards. And then a little fun fact, because it's not that he's only worked in the college level. He's also served alongside Packers offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich in San Francisco, alongside, guess who? Kyle Shanahan. So pretty big for the Packers there. But, you know, when you talk about a guy that's good at defending the pass, it's kind of ironic when you've got a division rival that might draft a generational quarterback. You might want to learn how to defend that. Take your notes, Green Bay. Anyways, but yeah, that's my big point there on the Packers as well. And then that's really it for the coaching hires, unless you have something else to add.
A few things here. I love the Mike McDaniels hire again. For those who don't know, Mike McDaniels, like I said, we were joking that he'd get passed around there in Michigan.
McDonald.
Or yeah,
McDaniels, the defense.
Yeah,
or the Dolphins.
So yeah, he was Michigan's DC, and before he was Michigan's, well, he was obviously Ravens DC. Before he was Ravens DC, he was Michigan's DC. And before he was the DC at Michigan, he was actually the Ravens linebacker coach. Absolutely love him. He came in here and absolutely changed that defense for the Wolverines. And he's more of a culture guy. His defense is going to be great. Like, he's going to go somewhere and the defense is going to be really, really good. I'm very excited to see what he does. Like you said, with that passing defense with a guy like Devin Witherspoon back there. And I'm going to cry that I'm forgetting his name, but the kid from the sophomore kid, I'm going to blank his name, and it is going to make me cry here. But I'm just excited to see what he's going to do there. But the big shock is Ben Johnson. So I would say the top 3 out of the 4 candidates for anyone who ranked them going into the offseason was Jim, and obviously Jim got hired. And this is in no particular order here, was Jim, Mike, Ben, and Bill. And Tyreek Woolen, by the way, was the cornerback I couldn't remember the name of. But 3 out of the top 4 coaching candidates are most likely. I mean, we don't know what's going on there with Washington, and maybe Washington ends up hiring Vrabel or Bill, which would shock me both ways, because you think you'd want to go the offensive route with the number 2 overall pick and Drake May most likely. But it's shocking that, like, these guys are coming back and neither of them got jobs. And this is part of the reason that I would have hoped that, like, the Eagles, they hired their new OC. They hired Kellen. It's okay. It's a fine hire. I could care less. But, like, I would take Vrabel for a year or 2 years at my defense as, like, DC. Shoot. Sure. I mean, I'm sure you would too. I mean, like, anyone would. So I wish, but it'll be interesting to see where they go. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike, especially, pulls a Doug Peterson, doesn't do anything for a year. That's what Doug did after his time with the Eagles. And kind of similar situation, kind of got fired and no one kind of expected it. Sits out a year, doesn't do anything football related, and then a team's going to come calling and give him some big money. So
I'm just confused just because, like, Vrabel, he had multiple interviews with the Falcons and it's gone nowhere. Like, normally when you look at multiple interviews with a head coach, that's typically something that's, signaling, hey, this is probably going to be the guy, or at least a finalist, to where if one guy
he was a finalist. I mean, what I heard was it was between him and Raheem Morris. And then, I mean, as we know, Raheem Morris got the job there. And like I said, the only job opening left at this point is the Commanders. But I mean, it sounds like it was between him and Raheem, and it sounds like Raheem was a better fit there, which is a little shocking. But I don't know.
Yeah. This next one, I'm sure this is over, but I just wanted to throw this in just to mess with you. Jason Kelsey says it's going to be hard to retire after watching his brother play in the Super Bowl. Dude's acting like the decision's not made yet. I feel like it's done, but I also feel like with players, it is hard to step away from this game, especially by choice. Especially when you end the way that you did. Looking at that, I feel like Jason, if he really wants to come back, he's just going to come back. I feel like at this point, he wants to go out on his terms, not Adam Schefter's. I get it. I mean, massive respect to him and what he's done since the Eagles have lost because I mean he's just nonstop fun. I
Yeah.
don't know. Did you see what I sent in the group chat?
I did.
He
I'd
wants
love
to
to
take-
see it. I would buy it immediately.
yeah, he wants to. Well, you might not even have to. So he wants to take the backyard sports series, so like your backyard football, your backyard baseball, and convert that. Well, he wants to buy it first off. Second off, he wants to get it back and up and running. Third, he was talking about, could you imagine playing that on your phone because it's not that hard to put together? And
Mhm.
yeah, make that a free app. Like, make it
Mhm.
customizable or something. Make it like a retro bowl to where you can customize teams and do stuff like that, but make it very minimal. And like it sounds like he wants to do that. And for one of the I'll put it up there, I'll say it. It's one of the best sports games ever made. It's a lot of fun. I
Mhm.
think that it can definitely be put together correctly and given the right resources. But yeah, I don't know. I think that he's just gonna stay where he's at right now. I don't think he's gonna move.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be back with the Eagles in some capacity, whether it's like an
Coach,
assistant
maybe.
O-line coach or something like that, or like an area scout or something.
Yeah, a locker room
But
guy.
yeah,
Doesn't.
yeah, I think he'll be back no matter what. And honestly, though, I think if it was up to him and it was just Jason Kelsey and he was a bachelor I think he'd be back for another season.
Yeah.
But then you listen, I don't know how many people listen to the Kelsey documentary and whatnot, but a big part of that was Kylie, who's wonderful and amazing.
She's awesome.
Kind of, yeah, but has made her voice very known that she wants him to retire. She wants him to be a dad, and not that he's not a dad and not an awesome husband already, but to be around the girls much more. And I think that's the holdup is like if it was up to him, he'd be back for another year, no doubt. But it's not only him; he has to think about
Yeah,
everything
his
else
family.
within his life and his family. Exactly. Again, I'm leaning that I would be pleasantly surprised if he comes back. Like you said, I think he's just waiting for a good time, and honestly, he might just be waiting for Travis. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis wins if he wins the Super Bowl if he just retires, and him and Jason both retiring the same year would allow them to both be eligible to make the Hall of Fame in the same year, and then them joining the Hall of Fame class in the same year. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if that is also another factor as to like them waiting and maybe they want to do it together and so on and so forth. So
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it though for weekly news. So yeah, like I had previously stated, we're not going to be doing Pigskin Payout or Pigskin Pick'em as well. So instead, I mean, this is why we were a little late today. I already put a tweet out regarding it, but if you guys are watching live or listening, we did start a little bit later, well, way later than we normally do.
I was gonna say.
So but I needed to put this together and everything because we talked about it last week. We're doing a Bears rebuild. And so basically this is just like it's not as much of a rebuild as it is a mock off season. Just because Poles is doing a phenomenal job rebuilding this team. Like from the bottom up, he took out literally everything that needed to be taken out, and he's just, demolished it and turned it into something that's really turning out to be beautiful. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm only making 2 cuts. Now I know what you're thinking. Dude, you can't cut Velus Jones Jr. in his 3rd year. I didn't do it. I know. Let's be realistic.
You should have.
Not going to do it. I should, but he's only going to save me like $700,000. I wasn't going to do it. But anyways, I cut Eddie Jackson and saved $12.5 million. And I've cut Cody Whitehair and saved $9.1 million. After that, I re-signed Jalen Johnson to a 5-year, $90 million contract, $22.5 million guaranteed. And then I re-signed the long snapper Patrick Scales to a 1-year, $1 million contract worth $100,000 guaranteed as well, just to lock down our long snapper for another year. Keep in mind, not only is this something that I would like to do, but I'd like this to be as not only fun, but realistic as possible. Okay. So, for that, I did make a couple fun signings that probably won't happen. But I also made a couple reasonable signings in free agency. I had $42.5 million to spend. So I signed center Lloyd Cushenberry from the Broncos, 3 years, $6 million per year, worth $2 million guaranteed. Let's see. I had Cameron Curl, the safety from Washington. I signed him 3 years, $42 million with $8.4 million guaranteed. And then these were the two fun signings. I signed running back DeAndre Swift to 3 years. This is a hefty price tag, and $9.5 million per year, and $3.3 million guaranteed. But it makes sense later on. And then I signed wide receiver T. Higgins to a 4-year, $76 million contract worth $19 million guaranteed. So then
4-year, how many?
$76 million over 4 years and $19 million guaranteed.
Okay.
For the draft, these are my pre-draft trades. I have traded, I know, coming from me, sounds a little weird. I have traded Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons for a 2024 second and third, and then a 2025 fifth. I'm going to go ahead and make a note saying that it's going to be a 2025 second that turns into a first. But it's incentive based. So he has to hit X amount of things for, whatever. But we don't need to figure out all of that, but that's it. We can only use a second and a third round pick this year. So, and then not only that, but here's why I signed DeAndre Swift. It's because me personally, I don't like Khalil Herbert. So I traded him to the Jaguars for a 2024 fourth. I think it's pretty hefty price tag, but whatever.
That's why I laughed when you said realistic, because I saw it. Yeah. There's no way a team is trading a 4th round pick. There's no way a team's trading a 6th round pick for Khalil Herbert when you could get a
Let's
guy
say
in
we
the
threw in
like
a next year, like a late round pick, like a 5th or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyways, here's my draft, my mock draft. Did you look at the mock draft? Did you spoil it?
Yeah, I just looked at it now.
Okay. For the number 1 overall, Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC.
Wow.
This is your guy. You need it. For the 9th overall pick, I have traded it to Denver for 12, 113, and a 2025 second. 113, for those that are questioning what round that is, it's 4th. I drafted Dallas Turner at 12, the edge from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 43 overall from Atlanta, I drafted Xavier Legette, the wide receiver from South Carolina. I traded 74 74, 113 and 114 to the Rams for 51 overall, so the 2nd round pick, which I then flipped to Baltimore for the 62nd overall pick, the 93rd overall pick, and okay, I'm just gonna do this in rounds: a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a 5th round pick. So I traded back 11 spots for an extra 3rd and 5th. I drafted T'Vondre Sweat, the defensive interior guy from Texas. This guy is just tearing it up in the Senior Bowl. I strictly do not think he's going to be here because he's doing that. But because of that, it's like, hey, he's here. He's, whatever. We're going to take him. This is all according to PFF as well. So that's, take that with a grain of salt. Also, Senior Bowl, pre-combine, all of this, I mean, who knows what's actually going to unfold. I then drafted Christian Haynes, the guard from Connecticut, Audric Estime, the running back from Notre Dame, Cedric Van Pran, Cedric Van Pran, the center from Georgia, Cade Stover, the tight end from Ohio State. And the reason why I did that is because he's more of a pass-catching tight end than a run-blocking tight end. And, I did not retain I'm trying to think of his name right now. Our 2nd string tight end from this year, Robert Tonyan. I did not keep him. And then in the 5th round, I drafted Isaiah Williams, a wide receiver from Illinois, and then Drake Nugent, the center from Michigan. So all around, I filled a lot of holes. And I think that this would transform the Bears into, especially with T. Higgins and Xavier Legette and DJ Moore. That's a disgusting offense. You've got DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson out of the backfield. I think that's also good. You re-signed Jalen and everything like that.
Mhm.
You've got Dallas Turner on the opposite side of Montez Sweat. That's just, this is going to be a good team. This is playoff worthy in my opinion. But I personally, for those Bears fans that are thinking like, why didn't you trade Justin for a first this year? Me personally, you're not getting a first round for Justin. But not only that, but I would almost rather have the second and third and then a conditional pick next year, just because this is such a deep draft to where you can draft a little bit later and pick up these guys instead of just getting one pick for Justin straight up in the first round. Because how many of these first round picks end up hitting is for one thing. For two, I'd rather take. Yeah, now I understand these are blue chip guys, and it is a very deep, draft. So these guys must be up there for a reason. But, if I'd rather take 3 shots at, a couple things great with Poles' logic and everything like that, because he's hit in the late rounds in the second and third as well. And then, that's the one pick that sticks with you. But you don't talk about, Jaquan Brisker or Kyler Gordon that's been tearing it up. That's fine.
Jaquan Brisker, I'll give you. Kyler Gordon, the jury still has questions, but
okay. Well, watch a little bit more of his film, and I promise you'll change your mind. Not only that, but Tyreek Stevenson was drafted in the second. Gervon Dexter picked it up in the second half of the season. He was drafted in the second. Poles will be just fine. He can miss out on Bayless. But anyways, looking at this offense, and Isaiah Williams is strictly just a depth guy. You pick him in the 5th. I understand I didn't have any 6th or 7th round picks. In this situation, I do believe that Poles can generate more draft capital and pick more guys. I think this draft class will be even more loaded for the Bears. But this is strictly a mock draft by somebody who has absolutely no front office experience. So this is it. So what you think?
Yeah, no. So in terms of offseason signings, I'm all for it. Stay off of Cameron Curl, please. He's my guy. I need you to find your own guy. Cameron Curl is mine.
No.
Take a step back. Thank you. But then also the two things that really confuse me is as Poles, and your Poles in the situation as Poles, why would you draft a running back in the 3rd round last year, sign a running back to good money this year, and then I don't want to say waste a 3rd round pick, but essentially wasting a 3rd round pick on a running back this year when you're trying to build an offense around Caleb Williams and throw the ball more. So that's issue number one is is way too much. I think money and resources invested into that backfield. And then at the center position, what's going on there at the center position? You kind of the
depth.
same.
There's no depth on this team at all.
Well,
at the
depth
center
is
position,
fine,
so.
but I don't know. Investing that much money, and then going. What I do like about Cedric is I do think Cedric can play other IOL spots. Drake, as a Michigan fan, absolutely love him. Any team that's going to get him is going to be awesome. He's going to play center, and that's about it. So I think there's a lot of resources being invested in that center position as well that might be better off invested somewhere else. If you guys have listened to this podcast for a little bit, everyone knows how I feel about specifically the fit of Xavier Legette to the Bears in the 2nd or 3rd round. So obviously I love that. I've been pounding the table for that for like a couple weeks now. We'd love to see you come around to it. I think with pick 43, it's a little high. I don't know what the board looked like at that point. I would have maybe see if you could have traded back just a little bit further. Pick 43 is a little rich for Xavier Legette at that point, especially considering there would probably be a guy like Tez Walker or I don't think Troy Franklin would have been there at that point. But a guy like Troy Franklin, Tez Walker, A.D. Mitchell at pick 43, I think would probably have been there, and I would have preferred any of those guys over Legette. So if Legette was the way to go, or if you wanted Legette and that's who you narrowed in on, I would have liked to see a trade back. But I love the off-season signings, and I like the draft in general. Leggett and then the center running backs are my only big question marks with everything.
Yeah. No, I get it for sure. I want to look at one thing really quick. Just because I don't think okay. Yeah, okay. So the reason why, we're talking about like the running backs and stuff and why I drafted so many and wasted so much capital on it. I get it for sure. The thing is, so like right now, the Bears have Travis Homer, which is one guy I would also consider cutting because you'd save an extra $1 million there. He's not really doing anything but eating up another $1 million. Poles likes his running backs. He likes to keep it like a deep room. And you look at the Seahawks offense last year, Kenneth Walker. Let's pretend, DeAndre Swift is going to be your Kenneth Walker, right? And then Roschon Johnson or, Audric, how did you pronounce his last name?
Audric Estime.
Okay. Estime is going to be, your 2A and 2B essentially, because you look at Kenneth Walker's rushing stats. He took out about, 50% of the carries, as he should, because he's RB1. But, you look at Charbonnet, he's got barely over 100 rushes on the season. Then that's after, Kenneth Walker had been injured. So like, I understand you want like a pass first offense, but it needs to be a little bit balanced in my opinion. And so looking at this, I mean, I understand like Caleb Williams and everything is going to be your guy, but this isn't Madden where I just chuck it downfield and, I get 500 pass yards per year.
I can't hear what you're saying. This is 100% my bad. My AirPod got disconnected.
No, you're all good.
All right, there we are.
Yeah, so essentially what I said was like, you're not going to be treating this like Madden where you're chucking the ball for 400 yards every game because you're just doing that for majority of your offense. I know it's going to be pass first, but this is still I find it hard to believe that the Chicago Bears are not going to be Chicago Bears like in just 1 year of change. Like I just don't see it. So because of that, I want a little bit more depth. Roschon didn't get that much, of opportunity in this year. So that's why I'm just like, screw it, man. Let's just try it out, see what happens. And then, if Roschon, I mean, given that he's a very, I'd say angry runner, you know what I mean? Roschon is like a bulldozer. It's also a little risky in that sense because Roschon landed on the concussion protocol, I think twice last year. So, getting a little bit of depth. I understand the 3rd round pick is a lot to give up, but it's also a late 3rd. And, I understand you want this guy to be your primary back, if that, and I think that he has the opportunity to take over after Swift, gets rid of that contract at 3 years. But who knows, like maybe they cut Swift after a year or 2 of him being on the team. And then they commit, to Estime, full-time or Roschon full-time or whatever it is. And you just keep that steady rotation. I find it hard to believe that we won't take a running back this year, whether it's on the 3rd round or not. So that's my analysis on that.
Yeah. In terms of running back, I think I would have rather seen, I mean, even if you're going to, because you have a dude who, hopefully you're paying Swift because you believe in the running back he is. So you have your bell cow back. At least I would hope so if you're paying him $9 million. This year. So you have your bell cow guy. And then again, you have the dude you drafted last year. I understand wanting to do depth. I think I would have liked to see you guys, if I'm just critiquing, and obviously this is me critiquing, no one's going to draft perfectly and so on and so forth. But I think I would have liked to have seen, maybe someone like Marshawn Lloyd drafted in like maybe the 5th round or something. Marshawn Lloyd, for those who don't know, is the running back out of USC. Or even like a Will Shipley who might be taken a little bit later, someone more the 5th round, or if you're looking for that angry runner, because that's, for those who don't know Estime, like that's Estime. He's going to get you a short yard. He's going to go, he's going to hit you, and he's going to truck someone over and run someone over. If you're looking for that back, there's even a guy named Ray Davis out of Kentucky who's going to be a nice little power back. They're drafted late. And then if you're cutting Eddie, I would have liked to see maybe a safety drafted there as well. Obviously, you signed Cameron Curl, but I would have maybe liked to see an investment there, maybe with that 3rd round pick instead of using it on a guy like Audric Estime, maybe a Jane Hicks. Jane Hicks is one of my guys. For those who haven't listened to the podcast, I wouldn't say my guys, but I'm a fan of Jane Hicks. I like my box safeties for those who haven't been around for as long. And Jane Hicks is exactly like that. I love my box safeties, or even maybe a Tyreek Smith, or I don't think Javon Bullard would be there at that point. But maybe a safety there. I think if I could have changed anything, that would have been it. But again, I think it was a good draft. All this critique that people are hearing, but I think it was a good draft. So don't get that twisted. I like the offseason. I like the draft. Just small critiques.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, everybody knows that I've kind of worked a little bit more on the draft.
Love to see
this year. So I feel like the people that I chose specifically at these spots, I feel like, you guys probably would have done around the same exact thing, given, you guys might disagree with me about the running back, but the O-line parts, drafting Sweat in the late second, drafting Leggett in the second as well. Drafting Dallas Turner at 12 to put alongside Montez Sweat sounds scary for opposing sides, in my opinion. Caleb Williams at 1 is a no-brainer, but then you look at, guard, guard depth in general is huge, especially because you and I both saw Tevin Jenkins get hurt like bad against Philly.
And he played good when he was in, but
don't get me wrong. My thing is this. You have Nate Davis, who, by the way, if you watch the quarterback school at all, you'll see it. And I know that YouTube channel is, but I know that YouTube channel is strictly about the quarterback, but please watch the O-line too, because Nate Davis is clueless. You get a good center and you get a good guard, maybe even in the draft, like you said, Van Pran could potentially switch to guard. You've got a young core, which, by the way, did you notice I didn't take a tackle? I'm keeping Braxton Jones at left tackle. You've got a young offensive line there. I mean, think about that. Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright at the tackles. You've got Tevin Jenkins at your left or right tackle, wherever you want him to be, which in my opinion should be on the right-hand side because him and Wright would just tear stuff up. But, and then you've got your rookie guard on the other side. And then you've got either, Cushenberry or, a Drake Nugent, for example.
I would hope it's Cushenberry.
I would too, just for the first year or two, but you've got him signed down for 3 years for $6 million each. So it's a short-term contract, I would say, which it's cheap too. So you can get out of it. It's fine. There's $2 million guaranteed. Cut your losses and start your young guy. But that's something to be excited about if these offensive linemen can actually hold up with, and obviously you want to protect Caleb Williams as well too, just because, you don't think that he does well against pressure, especially from the interior. So what you should do logically in that sense is draft for the interior. So that's where I'm at. But I don't know. I think that's it for the Bears rebuild. But Ben, you wanna move on to the second to last segment we have today?
Yeah, real quick here. If you guys could get T'Vondre Sweat in the second round that late,
ridiculous.
T'Vondre Sweat, it's a reach, and I understand, but T'Vondre Sweat is a guy that I'm going to continuously mock to a certain team in the first round, which Ryan knows who it is, but I don't want to say it until we get into the draft season a little bit. And then like we said last podcast episode, the week after the Super Bowl ends, we're going to start our kind of our draft rankings and dig a little bit more into that, which we love to see that you are getting into it. But the edge class is going to be really interesting. I think that's the only other place where people would maybe disagree, because there are 3 very, very good edges within this class, and it's 3 of them, and then a little bit of a gap in Verse, Latu, and Dallas Turner. So it'll be really, really fun. Obviously, I think we know who your edge one is. So it'll be really, really fun to see how all that turns out. So if you guys disagree with any of my takes, any of Ryan's takes, whether that's on the draft or anything else, just stay tuned, because it is about to be draft season and we are about to dig into it. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Which, by the way, we have officially, after today, it'll be 29 days left. So count it as 2 weeks left now, just because this episode will be put out on Thursday. at 10 a.m. And, I'm sorry, 4 weeks left. 4 weeks left until the scouting combine. And that is, so exciting, just because, for one, we'll be able to put out an episode the day before we're supposed to go the first day. I'm sure we'll figure out one way or another to get it done. And then for two, we'll be right back right after the end of it, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop with the content. For the first time ever in Pigskin Project history, I believe that when we go, I'm looking at the calendar right now, because the dates are, let's see, the 29th, the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. So you will get probably 5 days straight of Pigskin Project content, is what I would say. Just because, you have the podcast, and then you've got the 4 days worth of the scouting combine on our TikTok. So just something to keep track of. If you aren't following us already on there, definitely check us out. But until then, let's start talking a little bit more about college football.
Pro football isn't the only game in town. Let's take a stroll to Ben's College Corner.
Let's go.
Sweet. Yeah. Like I said on the podcast last week, and like I said, 30 seconds ago, this will soonly just be not in the podcast script anymore, because we're just going to be talking about the draft. And we just won't be talking about college football because we'll be talking about the draft. So soon this will be out of the script completely. But honestly, we're just going to use this to talk more about basically the draft. The segment here today is just going to be talking about our two postseason kind of bowl games. And the two big ones are going to be the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. Shrine Bowl a little bit lesser known than your Senior Bowl, but it's along the same lines. It's going to be your, I think they're both juniors now are eligible for it as well. But it's just guys who are going to try to raise their draft stock coming in. And the big part of it, obviously they play the game and whatnot, but the big part of it is the practices that we see, because these guys are working with NFL coaches. And then you get to see these guys, guys like Quinyon Mitchell, who we'll get into in a second, playing lower level normally throughout his college career, now playing against guys like Ricky Pearsall, Roman Wilson, and stuff like that. So these are awesome. There's a lot of amazing names, especially at the Senior Bowl, for those who, names that you'll hear throughout the draft process now. And I'm going to run through it. It's a long list. We got Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Ennis Rickshaw Jr., Kalen King, Chris Braswell, Troy Fatnow, Graham Barton, Byron Murphy, Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, Quinyon Mitchell, Spencer Rattler, and Ricky Pearsall. And those are guys just that I would hope that at least more than 50% of the people that watch college football know those names. Oh yeah, and then Fuaga and Latu as well. So there's great talent here, and there's always good talent in the Senior Bowl, but more than ever, I feel like the talent this year is full of guys that are going to go within the first 3 rounds, which we don't usually see as much. But it is going to be fun. If you guys don't watch it, I think the practices are streamed on NFL Network. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can see the practices on NFL Network. But jumping right into it, there's been a couple standout names so far throughout the process, and that'll be Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, Quinyon Mitchell, Spencer Rattler, I heard, is looking amazing, and then Ricky Pearsall. But as far as the wide receivers, Ladd McConkey is that wide receiver out of Georgia. Will probably be drafted, I would say, late 2nd, early 3rd round. He is, by all accounts, looking like Cooper Kupp. People are going to say that. But a great comp that I heard Matt talk about would have been Amon-Ra. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but that's who Matt likes, and the play style is pretty similar. Roman Wilson, he has been lighting this thing on fire. I mean, if anyone's draft stock is going to raise as much as, has the biggest bump in their draft stock, it's Roman so far. He's been routing people up. He has not allowed any contact within his chest for the most part. And then the other big name there would have been Quinyon Mitchell. And we've seen Quinyon and Roman really go at it back and forth. So it has been a lot of fun. And then Quinyon was a dude who has been bordering on the edge of round 1 to round 2.
He's going
And I
round one
think,
for
yeah,
sure.
he's going well, and exactly, especially with what we've seen, I think he's going round one. And it's what I've said. I before this even happened, I said I think a team's going to fall in love with him and take him higher than what people would have expected. And now this just firmly surplants it even more. Again, people, were questioning. People had like their four with Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, Terrion Arnold, and Kool-Aid. And then people said, oh, there's a gap. And then it's Quinyon Mitchell, and then a gap, and then the rest of the guys. But I think after the way that Quinyon has played, he's kind of bumped himself up kind of into that top-tier category. And like I said, I think a team is going to absolutely fall in love with him, and I think he's going to go in the first round. And he's met with the Eagles. I would not mind that at all. Just have two athletic freaks, Quinyon Mitchell and Kelly Ringo on the outside for the next 7 years. Sign me the heck up. And then just Fuaga, man. For those who know, Fuaga's my guy in this draft. Talise Fuaga, he's the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. He had not allowed a single sack ever in the history of him playing. And you're like, wow, he must be a good pass blocker. Yeah, he's the best run blocking tackle in this class without a doubt. I mean, he's a road grader. He's a dude who you build your run game around. I absolutely love him. I have said it before, and it's not going to happen. I'd love for the Eagles to trade up for him and him just be our right guard and just throw our hands up and say, "No, we have our right tackle of the future." I love him. Again, for those who've been following for a very, very long time, Devontae Smith has been my favorite player I've ever scouted. And again, that was before the Eagles even drafted him. He's my favorite player I've ever scouted. Fuaga's not there, but Fuaga is a second, and it's very clearly Devontae Smith, Fuaga, and then everyone else. Absolutely love him. If you guys haven't watched him, go and watch him. And then, like I said, next week we will be getting into 2 weeks from now, we'll be getting into quarterbacks. I think Ryan's going to do 10. I'm not going to do 10 because I'm just going to do the dudes that have draft 9. I'm going to do the dudes that have draftable grades on. I don't think there's 10 quarterbacks that should be drafted in this class. There probably will be 10 quarterbacks just because as we see teams like to prioritize the quarterback position. But I don't think there's 10 draftable quarterbacks. I'm saying that now. I haven't dug into the quarterbacks just yet. But in 2 weeks, we'll dig more into this draft class, guys.
Do you remember how much hype Spencer Rattler got? And now it's like, cool. Like, he's a guy.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Sam Howell, man. 2 years ago, everyone's like, these guys are going to be the first 2 overall picks. And
yeah. Well,
so,
what happened to that? Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and play some Weddle.
It's time for America's favorite game, Weddle.
All right, so I, believe it or not, have been practicing, so I'm excited for this.
I have not.
Yeah. All right, let's get it started. Let me get rid of this really quick. So sorry. Here we go. And cool. All right. So, you want to start us off?
Yeah. We'll do Devontae Smith this time. We always go AJ Brown, but we'll do Devontae Smith.
No way. Okay, I was gonna say the one time it could have been.
If it would have been AJ, I would have been mad.
All right, let's see. Philly player, I don't know. Higher up. So Goddard?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
Here we go. I'm gonna start us off.
I'm waiting for the date to actually be Gervin Dexter.
Please, dude. Please.
I mean, it always scares me. I always like clench my butt when you type in Gervin Dexter to start. All right. So a defensive player that doesn't really rule it out. It could be an edge player too. I was gonna say small, but Gervin Dexter 6'6", so it's not really saying much. He's at least he's not young, and he's a defensive player in the AFC. You didn't really give me much there, bud. Gosh, defensive player in the AFC. I don't know, Drew Tranquil. DRUE.
All right, 28 in the AFC.
Right. So he's definitely a DB with the height like that.
Yeah.
Youngin. Oh, that bodes well for me.
I don't think he's. Oh no! Wait, no, 28. I'm sorry, 28.
28
Yeah,
in the
that
height
wouldn't
is
work.
just Kyle Hamilton's. Kyle
Let's
Hamilton's
see.
like 6'4".
Trying to think.
I'll help you out there, man. I thought he was young. I saw the 23 and I thought that was age. It's a shame. Maybe
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Jesse Bates? No, there's
Safety,
safety.
though.
Yeah, and he's in Atlanta.
Yeah. So he is a shorter safety in the north, south, or east in the north safety. Let me run through this there. Gosh, I don't know, man. Jeez. Okay. Well, I can't think of anyone, and it'll be someone in the north, but I can't think of anyone in the north off the top of my head. Actually, Deshaun Elliott. Type in Elliott, yeah.
AFC East. Okay.
Oh.
Let's see. Oh my gosh.
I think I know who it is. I know who it is. You better get it here, pal. I'll give you a hint. I'm not going to give you a hint. Never mind. I know. I'm so mad at myself now. I know exactly who it is.
Is it like easier or like is he a starter easy? You know what I mean?
He's a starter.
Okay.
If it's who I think it is, he's a starter. This might
I can't
probably
think of
my
AFC
favorite
East
Michigan
safeties.
player. Probably my favorite Michigan player of all time.
I'm blanking on safeties.
Okay.
Hold on a minute.
This is huge. This makes me so happy if it is who I think it is.
Nah, because I think that he plays safety, doesn't he?
It is safety.
No, I'm saying cornerback, not safety. My bad. I don't know. Yeah.
Jabril Peppers.
Yep. I knew it too. I knew it.
Bam.
Because I was like, no, because I knew that he was playing for the Patriots too, and I was just like, I know that it's that guy, but I can't think of his name right now. So
no, Jabril Peppers. Yeah, Jabril Peppers. I think I don't want to say still is because Blake Corbs and Mikey Sanders still are both up there. But I mean, that was easy for me. I'm kind of mad I didn't guess Jabril. Jabril's the reason I'm a Michigan fan. So,
all right, let's move on.
What's the name of the segment? Oh, you're not talking about Ryan and Ben? Oh, okay. Well, hold on. I've got it. It's time for Gridiron Goofs.
All right. So the inspiration today is all-time running backs, and that's from Adam Rank on Twitter because he was saying, where does Christian McCaffrey land on this all-time list? I was talking with my dad about it. These are not our favorite running backs, but more so the greatest running backs of all time. Let's see. Ben, I believe you had last pick or the number one pick last time.
Yeah, feel free to go in a second, yeah.
So, I'll go first because that's a clear answer for me as a Bears fan. I'm going Walter Payton.
Picking your favorite, he says.
Well, I mean, come on. It's Walter Payton. Sweetness, baby. Come on. All right, you can go.
It's okay. I would have picked him second just to spite you anyways.
Mhm.
Even though I don't think he's even the second best running back. We're going to stick in the division. And not quite the same time period.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, pretty gosh darn close. Give me Barry.
It's best, yeah.
Yeah, Barry, I think, is the number one running back. I mean, is that like a historical guy that everyone is going to say is the best of all time? But I mean, if we're talking about like fairly modern day running backs, I think Barry's the number one.
Yeah. Give me Jim Brown.
Yeah.
At my second. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah.
Those are the top three guys. Like,
I would say
no
so.
one.
And then it gets it gets more to your liking down below. The next easy choice is Emmett, but I'm just not going to do that because I don't like Emmitt Smith. So we're gonna go LT.
LT. Okay, no problem. Let's see. Cool.
LaDainian says a couple obviously like Lawrence Taylor and everything. LaDainian Thomas. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, that's where I was going to, so I'm like kind of blanking.
I think Emmett would be the clearest answer, and number like 3 or 4, but
that's what I'm leaning to. I mean, yeah, I'll go Emmitt Smith. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. All right. Who'd I pick so far?
You got Barry Sanders and LaDainian Tomlinson.
And LT. All right. This like might be. I don't think it's a hot take. AP Adrian Peterson. Is he a good person? No, but he is one of the best running backs ever. So.
All right.
The question is which Ram running back is coming off the board first?
Right. Jeez. Yeah, I'll go Marshall Faulk because I was thinking the same exact thing.
Okay, there you go. Well, then I will take the other one, and I will take Eric Dickerson.
Okay. Okay. Because the thing is like, do I want to go modern with it or do I not? Just because like it's very subjective.
Gale Sayers, draft him.
That's what I was going to. I was going to.
I knew it. I know you, big dog.
I don't know. I don't.
I know.
I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
Huh? What was
I
that?
know where I'm going.
Oh man. I mean, dude, I really wanted Adrian Peterson too, and you just yanked him right there. Nah, I can't take him. I can't.
No, I was mainly joking, but then when you're like, yeah, I was like, whoa.
I mean, I already got Walter Payton and I already got Jim Brown. So I mean, I can't really fail here, can I?
I really hope you don't go my last guy. I'm not gonna trade you AP for him, but like if I could get my last guy, it'd make me happy. It'd really round out my list because I don't know where I'm going with. If you
all right, you want to talk not good guys? I'm going OJ.
Oh, you're a turd. You're a steaming turd pile. You know that? A steaming hot
good
turd
people.
Pile.
Yeah,
that's exactly who I wanted.
I'm like, do I do it or not? But I have to.
Big pile of steaming turd. Gosh, I now don't know who I want to go with. I mean, if we're going like longevity, it's hard to not do like. Oh, gosh,
that's what I'm saying.
Longevity, like, I mean, like Frank Gore. I mean, Frank Gore comes to mind, but like he was never like the guy in the league,
right?
But he has some of the best stats ever, and he has played for like 15,000 years. Which is also really fun for those who don't know. His son is coming out in this draft. His son plays at like Southern Miss. And his son actually is at the Shrine Bowl. So if you guys want to know more about him, it's Frank Gore Jr. Pretty hard to mess that one up. Golly, dude, you kind of screwed me over. I don't want to go Tony Dorsett, and I don't think I will go Tony Dorsett. Oh gosh, I don't know, dude. I think you really screwed me there. I think I'm gonna go with the bus. Give me the bus. Yeah, Jerome Bettis.
Okay. All right.
The best short yardage back. Oh, by the way, I'm genuinely mad it took this long to get into the podcast, and there's no one listening at this point. Dan Campbell's call to not kick the field goal might go down in the history books as one of the worst coaching mistakes you will ever make. It is not. It's not quite to the Marshawn Lynch, and that was a little bit different because like I understood where Pete's head was at because it was only second down. We forget that like with the Marshawn Lynch, it was only second down. There were still 2 more downs. Yes, it would have been smart to give it to Marshawn, but it was only second down, so it was a couple more plays. But to like I understand you preach all of this stuff, but as soon as you went for it and you did not get it, the game was over. I understand there was 6 minutes left or something. It was done. Your defense was not getting a stop. Like it was the moment that you went for it, it was bad. And people want to say, you results-based thinking. The NFL is a result-based game. What are we doing? Sometimes you just got to take the field goal and keep your hopes alive. And to go for it was awful. I said at the moment, even when they went for it before the results came out, it was not bad, or it was bad. I don't know what he was doing. It was stupid. It was dumb.
Yeah, no, I was talking to Caitlin about it just because I'm like, you have to do that. And I'll even say this too. There's 2 minutes left in the game. I want to say they still had their timeouts.
Yes.
I still said, despite the fact they actually scored here, I said, you still kick a field goal. She was like, no, why would you do that? And I'm like, because you have more time. Like, think about it, right? They had, okay, let's see. I'm looking at it right now. They were in field goal range. Let's see. At about a minute left, okay? About a minute, almost 2 minutes left.
I think at that point you go for it just because you are so far behind.
But my thing is that, like, you kick the field goal and then you use your timeouts and whatnot over, the course of that drive, assuming that you do get the onside kick. And they almost did, by the way, which was even more insane. But like, dude, I don't agree with it. I think that he's trying too hard of being gutsy and just being that guy, but
we saw it in it obviously almost worked out, and it was a blunder on the coaching staff or on the reffing staff. But I mean, we saw the same thing against the Cowboys, going forward on 2 when you could have just tied it and took him to overtime with the whole.
I was also thinking, so I'll be completely honest for anybody listening. I'm not trying to flex or anything like that. I bet 49ers money line and over on points at halftime because, for one, I knew the Lions would blow it. Like, obviously, I know hindsight's always 20/20. And like, Caitlin, she hates the 49ers. Like, Caitlin. But the thing is that, she was like, no, don't say that. She goes, don't say they're going to blow it. And I literally, as we're walking into B-dubs, when the Lions are up huge in like the first or second quarter or something, I'm like, they're going to end up blowing it. She's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. I'm like, okay, well, I'm a Cubs fan. I know how this works with historically bad teams. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to end in their favor. And so I took a little quiet bet. I didn't say anything until the fourth quarter when the 49ers went up. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. And of course, like, I don't know. I will say this. Shout out to all the Detroit fans around me, just because I didn't know you existed. And for one, and then for two, I'm so sorry about everything. I was kind of rooting for you, but it's also a really weird spot to be in. I'll leave anybody with this. If you're the Bears, you can't afford to not pick Caleb Williams here because you've got a very competitive division that you're competing in next year. You got the Vikings, who are playoff caliber if everybody's healthy. I would even say that if Justin Jefferson never got hurt, they would have been in the playoffs this year. And then you look at the Packers as well. Jordan Love won a playoff game. Now you've got some competition. And then, hey, guess what? The Lions are still there too. So you got to get the generational guy and be Patrick Mahomes for a year if that's what you can compete in. But anyways, do you have any other comments to make? before I close this guy out?
No, I'm sure we'll get into it next week. The reffing was awful in the Kansas City game, shocker. But no, yeah, nope. Stay tuned. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Draft stuff is happening. As far as like scheduling notes, stay tuned. We'll give you guys an update on all the social medias and whatnot. But Valentine's Day falls on a Wednesday. Obviously, me and Ryan are both in long-term relationships, so we will probably both be very busy that night. So we probably will not be putting out podcasts on Wednesday. You guys will be getting a podcast that week, whether it's Tuesday, Thursday, whatever day we find fit, and we can squeeze into our schedule.
Find a way to pre-record something and put it out on Wednesday, and then drop it on Thursday like we normally do if we can, or something like that. But you guys will get it one way or another.
Yeah, you guys will get it, but there will most likely not be a live on Wednesday for you guys to tune into and comment on, because we'll be busy.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to the 100th episode. Keep in mind, 1 month from now, 4 episodes, we will be preparing for the Scouting Combine. So if you guys have any recommendations on content, what we need to do, what you'd like to see, your boy might be sporting a Caleb Williams Bears jersey, number 13. I'm just tossing that out there. Anyways, that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please comment anything else that you guys have. Follow us on all of our socials. And until next time, we'd like to thank Regional Radio Sports Network, Uppercuts Grooming, and Spotify for Podcasters for helping us grow as a podcast. And until next time, we'll see you later. This has been the Pigskin Project.